This is a recording of some of the most missed questions in Module 5, Quiz Part A. The first question that I want to comment on is question 1. Secretory products are stored in the termination of axons in the posterior pituitary. About 70% of the class got that correct. Remember that the hypothalamus has two bodies of neurons that have axons that terminate in the posterior pituitary. And so it is true, and the products are oxytocin and antidiuretic hormone. And they're stored in these terminations called Herring bodies. Okay, let's look at, everybody did very well on select all that make up the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland, the infundibulum and the pars nervosa. In circulating through the eye, the aqueous humor enters the trabecular spaces directly from which of the listed structures? Well, that's the anterior chamber. Majority of the class did okay, but the canal of Schlemm is where the aqueous humor is collected, and the next journey of the aqueous humor past the canal of Schlemm is a vein that collects the aqueous humor, and then it's in the bloodstream. Most people recognize the cell type that is post-mitotic among these, which are all listed cells in the seminiferous tubules in the testes. Which of those listed cells plays a critical role in the separation of cells of the seminiferous tubule into the two compartments? And that's definitely Sertoli cells. So I'm going to move through these rapidly because the majority of the class got those correct. Now here is one in which we gave two credits, a credit for two answers for the location or the association of the stapes. You know, the stapes actually, it fits right on the oval window of the cochlea, and that is definitely true. But also, the stapes is a part of the middle ear. So we went individually through each quiz and gave credit if you put either one of these answers. And so for the rest of these, class did very well on the association of structures of the ear. And also with this, which is responsible for generating the signal in the cochlear nerve from shear forces generated by fibrations of the basilar membrane and tectoral membrane. And those are the organ of Corti hair cells. Most people answered that. And the rest of these, the response was very good, so I'm not going to go over those. This just reminds you of some of the aspects you need to review for the final exam. So I'm going to pause this until I find one in which most of the class missed. Okay, here's one. In the ovary, a primordial follicle is transformed into a primary follicle under the influence of luteinizing hormone. That is definitely false, and nearly 70% of the class got that correct. If you did not get that correct, then you did not remember that the hormone that influences this transformation is the follicle-stimulated hormone, which is secreted in the anterior pituitary, the pars distalis, by gonadotropes, which are basophils. So be sure you review that. Okay, several of these answers the class did not perform particularly well on. First answer, the corneal conjunctival border, you've got that correct. That's letter A right here. The corneal conjunctival. This is the cornea, the very clear covering in front of the eye, and then it transforms into the conjunctiva, which is opaque. However, letter D, the association there was missed by many students. Only 58% of the class got this correct. So let's look at D. The correct answer was the first structure behind this inside the eye is covered with a capsule composed of type 4 collagen. Now let's look at D. Okay, D is right over the pupil. So the first structure that is encountered in the eye is the lens, and of that, the capsule is the first structure that's encountered. So the correct answer to that one was a capsule composed of type 4 collagen. Be sure to review all the structures of the eye. The next structure that the class did not perform as well on was the contraction of smooth muscles here makes the pupil smaller in diameter. And the letter that we're looking at is E. So let's move up to E and look at E. E is right over the iris, and it's right over the inner aspect of the iris. And these are circularly arranged smooth muscles, so when they contract, they make the pupil smaller. Now let's go back to that question, which is right here. The contraction of smooth muscles here makes the pupil smaller in diameter. Now out here in F, these are longitudinally arranged, and when they contract, they pull the iris and make the pupil larger, which is the correct answer to F that we just illustrated here. Okay? Now this one, the majority of the class, that is 71%, chose the incorrect answer, stating that the answer was, they thought was fovea centralis. The fovea centralis is just this point, right in the middle, and right in the middle here. But the question asks, the right image is a histological section in the plane indicated by the dotted line in the left image. Which of the listed terms is the correct term for the region circled in the left image and between the lines in the right histological image? Between the lines here and circled. So that is macula lutea. And that is the location where dry and wet macular degeneration occurs. So you need to review that for certain for the final exam. Okay, this next one had various letters that were labeling parts of the cochlea and their chambers. And I'll just go down through these carefully. Most of you realize that the scala vestibuli is A, and B contains endolymph. Well, not a number of people miss that. So review which one contains endolymph and which one contains the other type of fluid. Okay, perilymph. Let's see, scala tympani, number C. If you missed that, make sure you review that in the cochlea. And the modalis, most people got that. That's D, right here. And this is really the collection of the nerve fibers that are coming from the hair cells that are going to form the auditory nerve. Okay, so I'm going to go on to another one most miss. Most people recognize this as a primary follicle. Remember, a primordial follicle still has flat cells around it, but at the minute they become cuboidal or columnar, it's a primary follicle. So most people got that correct. And here, we're asking what these cells produce. These are thyroid follicular cells, and of course they produce thyroxine. We asked the parts of the cornea. Be sure to review those. Now here, let's pause on this one a minute. Basophils, acidophils. Roughly half the class chose the wrong answer. And very possibly you did not read carefully the stain, which is PAS, which stains because the products within the basophils are glycoproteins, and so they react with the PAS and stain red. And if you did not read this, and you see there's no eosin here at all, and so the red is due to the PAS reaction. And that's why I think many people miss that question. Okay, we're moving on here. I think that Stria vascularis, most people got that correct. And the follicle cells, got that correct. So this is one we gave some additional answers to. The question, actually, the answer should have included the thyroid gland because we didn't give you the organ. And in future revisions of this question, we're going to make sure that we word it so that you have to put thyroid and then follicle. Now, we were lenient on this. The structure was the thyroid follicle. We did not ask for the cells, but some people put cells, and we went ahead and gave credit for these 3 additional answers. Okay. Most people recognize this was the anterior chambers. Here's the lens, here's the cornea, and between the iris and the cornea is the anterior chamber. And here's the posterior chamber. Okay, and most people recognized in the seminiferous tubule that this is a spermatogonium. These very tiny nuclei in round are right next to the basement membrane of the seminiferous tubules. Most people recognize the Leydig cells. Remember, make sure you know what they produce. Testosterone. Let's see, 75% of the class got theca interna. Remember the theca interna, let's say, identify the layer between the 2 yellow lines. Well, this picture, when it was captured, the other yellow line was out here. And so that would be theca interna. And you see here are the follicular cells in the stratum granulosum within a secondary or tertiary follicle in the ovary. And here, primary follicle, you see it still has 1 layer of cells around it, and there's really no liquor present in here. So then I think that pretty much takes care of. So in reviewing, try to take note of those as you take your review.